This is
RedPubPod.
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 a podcast
RedPubPod.
from Red Publications.
RedPubPod.
RedPubPod.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening out there in podcast land. What time it might be for you right now, but you're coming and listening to us live from the plush-welded studios of Catawba Valley Community College. This is Red Pub Pod Special Edition. Woo! Special
Yay.
Edition, yes. I'm here with Patty Thompson, our person who says yes and no to manuscripts. I'm here with
Angel and Devil.
with Melanie Zimmerman, who is the person who takes said manuscripts and makes them readable and printable. I'm Robert Knipe, and we're also here with the big kahuna, Richard Eller,
Yay.
who when we figure out what it is he does, we will let you know. We'll put it on our... Actually, he holds the whole thing together.
To be determined.
And we have decided to try to entertain you today. We've got some new publications coming out. We're looking for certain publications out there, so we want to talk to you about that.
I thought this was the holiday edition.
Is it the holiday edition? Well, look, all right out there for you folks out there in podcast land, it is our holiday edition of Red Pub Pod. So somebody shake some jingle bells or shaky jingle bells or something.
Which actually means we're here to look at the end of 2023 and the beginning of 2024 to let you, the reader, know what you should be anticipating and or purchasing for your Christmas holiday list.
And we're going to give Robert enough time to think about what incentive he'll give you in terms of a holiday discount. Not putting you on the spot, Robert, but, that's what folks are going to want to know. But the other thing is I suspect we're all a little giddy because it is getting towards the end of the year. And we have done naturally more than we should have this year. But that said, it's been a really exciting year, guys. I'm really, really proud of what we've done and what we still have to do between now and the end of the year.
Did we publish a book a week this year as we did the year before?
Man, I'm going to have to check out on that one.
I don't know. I hope not.
I don't think so.
I don't think we're quite at that pace, but
No,
we're still pretty... we've been pretty prolific.
We did a really, really big job with the Clarence B. Jones book. We put it out as a hardcover, as a national distributed book, and we did 2 special editions for 2 different nonprofits, and those were a couple thousand copies per nonprofit. So that book alone caused us, I don't know, it caused my blood pressure to go up quite a bit, lots of my hair to fall out, and...
Gave us a much higher profile in the national press, and so it's been a good book for us.
Put the program on the map, and the greatest thing about it is right now at the University of San Francisco, they've got their copies. They're going to teach it in the school. So how many copies was that, Patty, we mailed out there? A couple thousand?
Bunches.
You're talking USF?
USF, San Francisco.
Gosh, I think in the end it ended up being maybe 2,000.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So the students out there have a special copy of the book just for them that has got a special foreword by Dr. Jones in it. So we were able to do that along with everything else. So we've got a bunch of books, a bunch of poets that are up for awards.
Yeah, it is award season, folks, and that's one of the things we've been kind of busy on. We've got several books up with the North Carolina Historical
Society
Archive.
of Historians.
Yeah.
The North Carolina Historical Association, yeah.
The one that's based in Raleigh, it's actually a state division that gives awards. So we've got, of the 12 books that are nominated for the Poetry Division alone, 6 are Red Hawk publications.
Wow.
We better win something.
Yeah. Stuffed the ballot box on that one.
That's right. And then, Richard, your Well Crafted is in the nonfiction category.
Yeah.
Austin Allran's novel is in the fiction category.
The Legend of the Isle of Cats.
Yeah, so
Yes.
I keep looking at that, wondering when they're going to make their decision on who wins the various categories. But that's been a big one that I'm looking forward to getting some results from them hopefully soon.
And I just mailed nominations right before we sat down to do this. So for Michael Loderstedt's book, Why We Fished.
And
for Joan Boriscova's Orange Tulips.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
that-
Joan, if you're listening, we still love your book.
Well, I'll tell you what, that Nina Riggs Poetry Award, which is based out of the Nina Riggs Poetry Foundation in Greensboro, North Carolina, has a very niche award for poems that have to do with family and family dynamics. And so Michael Loderstedt, thank you, who brought that to us to our attention. We nominated his book, and since you can nominate books going back as far as 3 years, we nominated Joan as well because her book Orange Tulips is just enveloped in family dynamics. So I chose 3 poems that should make them weep. So again, I think there's several winners in that category, and each get a minimum of $1,000. So hey, that's a good thing. I hope someone wins on that one from our team.
And the Pushcart Prizes nominations are going out.
Yeah.
Right, we're putting those together right now.
Yeah, and by the way, if you're listening to this and you were not nominated for Pushcart, don't worry about it. I mean, next year, so much more in 2024. Yeah, the bottom line is you just never know. They say, what is it, Robert? Just being nominated for a Pushcart is...
Yeah, it is an honor to just be nominated.
All 16,000 people nominated for Pushcarts.
Yeah, well.
So we're giving it a shot that maybe this year, maybe someone of the 6 poets that we've nominated, hopefully 1 or 2 of them will be picked up for the anthology. So congratulations to those who have been nominated. You know who you are. Once we put them in the mail, we can make that official.
It's been a busy year. Melanie, of the things you've worked on this year, what do you think is the most, what do you remember the most? Which project?
Oh, Jiminy Crickets. Well, working on your book and the Road His book were pretty good.
And the Road His book is still quite doing quite well. We're shipping out 30 copies today. So
Yeah. Yeah, and then finding, working with some of the poets, and I found a new author accidentally in front of a pet store.
Yeah, how did that happen?
Well, Dave, my husband, and I were going to Pets Plus in Viewmont. There's a plug for Pets Plus. If you want to give us discounts, give us a call. And she was outside with her husband with her books, and I just walked right past her. I didn't even think anything about it. And Dave stopped and talked to her husband, and he said, let me go in, and when we come back out, we'll stop back by. Well, Dave didn't even think about it and started to walk away, and he said, hey, don't you want to come look at the books? And we turned around, and she was telling somebody, Terry Parrott, who is the author, was telling somebody else, I'm really looking for a local publisher. And I said, I work for a local publisher. And so she gave me a copy of her book, and she signed it for me, everything. And she wasn't treated very nicely by the people who published it, and it cost her a lot of money. And I said, give me your book. I said, send me your files and let me see what I can do with it. And we fixed her up, and she's got a proof right now, galley proof right now, that she's going over. And Angel, our work study student, read the book and loves it, and even gave me her notes on it. So now we found out that Angel has a second career as a editor and a proofer. And but it's a really good book. It's called Frankie, and it's about a teenager growing up who finds out that she has a father somewhere, and the father may be her English teacher, but she doesn't know.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now, is this a series?
Mm-hmm. It's a series from the Holly Springs. This will be the first, and then the second one is called Today and Tomorrow. And Today and Tomorrow happened to be her cousin, or her friends, I think they're cousins of hers, that they're twins, and one was born before midnight, and one was born after midnight. So their mother named them Today and Tomorrow. And so the second edition is going to be about them, and then the third one is supposed to be everybody comes back together for a Christmas special.
I'm glad my parents didn't name me. Whoops.
Yeah, really. Sure.
That sounds interesting. And also, too, out there in podcast land, always remember that if a press wants to charge you a lot of money to publish your book, you need to run in the opposite direction. Run right to Red Hawk Publications and talk to one of us. All of that stuff of layout and distribution and all of that stuff doesn't cost the author a thing through this program, and it should never cost anything through a standard or a traditional publisher. These are vanity presses who have menus, so avoid them. Don't let them take your money. Bring your stuff to us and let us help you with it.
I got a phone call today, guys, from a woman who attended Bethlehem Library had a reading with veterans, and Ken Harbert, who wrote Our Paths and Lives, he mentioned to a young woman that RedPubPod's is here. She called me. She's interested in us doing her children's illustrated book, and the first thing she asked is, how much does it cost?
Yeah.
It's surprising to me how many people think it should cost them money to publish.
And we've had that so many times. I mean, think about Rick Van Dett when he first pitched his book to us, that he'd already been considering that. Yeah. And so many of them, I mean, that's kind of in the local press world throughout the United States. That sort of becomes standard. You know, there's people making money on would-be authors.
Yeah, and I guess that's one of the reasons why we may sometimes have to turn a book down. I mean, we can't do it all because we're not charging. But that said, it is kind of scary that people might just think, oh, it costs money to publish. Well, it could if you want to go in that direction, but that's not what
we're not pay to play like that.
No.
Yeah, it's one of those. There's a big difference in putting somebody in touch with an editor or somebody in touch with a graphic artist to design a cover, and that costs, a couple of $100. There's a big difference between that and several $1,000s to do those things, and then they not be up to par in the quality. I mean, I've seen some of the quality of some of these books, and it's just sad.
Yeah, it kind of broke my heart. Well, it did break my heart. I know how devastated she was because she bought like 100, 200 copies of the book, and she's selling them herself. She's out promoting herself. But there were, the justification wasn't right. They didn't proof it. They didn't make any edits on it. Chapters were broken up with a page in between them. And she felt like she was just stuck. And, I mean, she lost it was over $5,000.
Oh, my gosh.
And I said, give me that book. I'm going to take it, and I'm going to fix it for you. And you took a look at it. Robert took a look at it. And, I mean, this is a book I think that's going to be it's going to be a movie. I can see it being a series.
And there's been several times when clients have brought us books that I call rescue books. They're books that have either been fouled up by one of these fly-by-night pay-for-play people, or books that they paid and they got nothing. I mean, we've had that happen, and we've gone ahead and done those books to make that client's dreams realized, and also to kind of get back at the robbers that would take advantage of these folks, because it's just kind of disgusting in a way that people are done that way.
Mm-hmm. And I've said it before, but this is part of the college's mission to reflect the talent of the area, and we're going to be here, so we're not going to take advantage of you like some people will, because they could just as easily go out of business after they've got people's money. We're part of the institution. We'll be here. We want to do right by you and make sure that your publication has the best chance of reaching an audience that we can give it.
Exactly. So if you want to take a look at some of that product, you just go to redhawkpublications.com. There, as of this recording, there is a Fall 23 code on there. Now, you got to look on the landing page, and then when you check out, folks, look right below the buttons for the credit card, whether it's click for a credit card, click for PayPal, because right below it is a little URL that lets you add the FALL23 or any of the other codes. You'll miss it if you blink, and that's not our fault. We didn't put that in there like that. There's just no way on the Equid site to fix it. I've written them about it to see if we could make something a little more prominent, and of course, haven't heard anything back. But
I know if I want a discount, I will look hard enough to figure out where to put the code.
I do it all the time. I look on, and sometimes they are hidden. Sometimes you got to go back a couple of pages even before you put your address in and go like, there you are. There's the little link, and then it'll open up the box for you to put the thing in, because some of them, I think they want you to miss it, but we don't. We want you to use those codes because we put those codes out there for a reason. So, and if you have a problem, just write us.
What is that code again?
Fall 23.
Fall 23.
Capital letters, FALL, and then 23.
Okay.
And
that's great.
Whenever we do another one, we'll always put it out on our Facebook page, our
Social media,
Instagram. We'll always put those codes on there. But finding the place to put it has sometimes been the problem. And it's always on that page that you're deciding how you're going to pay, whether you're going to put in your credit card, whether you're going to use PayPal, or whether you're going to use, I can't think of what the third one is. I think the third one's Stripe or something like that. Right below that is a little URL that you can click, and it'll open up the box for you to put the code in. So please use that. We want you to. We want you to save. That saves you 25% right now, that fall 23.
And free shipping?
And free shipping,
How do we do this? How do we do it?
Well,
folks?
we don't. I mean, we do it, but it's not, sometimes it's not. You know, we just had a recent, one of our authors featured on the cover of the Hickory record yesterday, Grayson Sigmund, with his book RPM Friends. And, you know, I love mailing those comics out. But when you sit down and look at it from a business perspective, it's not smart, because the comic's $5 and it costs a lot to print because it's full color on glossy paper. And then when you do free shipping, we actually don't do very well on that.
But it's out of love.
But it is. It's to get Grayson's comic out there to you folks. So order it. I'll give you free media mail shipping. It's $3.62 to ship it. And you use that code, and I'll still ship it to you because I want you to read Grayson's work, or G.C. Axelrod.
I just spoke to his dad this morning, as a matter of fact, because we knew we were going to talk about Grayson's book, and I wanted to know, does Grayson have any upcoming events? And he actually does. For those of you that live in the Catawba Valley area, Grayson Sigmund will be selling his book at the St. Peter's Lutheran Church in Conover on Saturday, December 2nd. There's a winter festival, so feel free to come out on December 2nd and join St. Peter's, or, of course, order it from our website.
Yeah, you can order it from our website, and we will keep you abreast on these type things on our social media, on Facebook and the like, of when our authors are appearing live and in person. So all you have to do is kind of check that, and you can set up an RSS feed that has Red Hawk Publications.
I do,
in it too.
and I have.
Yeah.
So things will pop up. Just so that you guys know, as we were chatting, I went through our pipeline for 23. It looks like we'll be at about 32 books by the end of this year.
That makes sense, yeah. Because it isn't quite as frenzied a year as 2022. But in those, what did you say,
32, give or take,
or so?
Give or take, yeah.
Y'all mentioned the G.K. Axelrod book. What's some others that came out this year that you want people to have a second look at? Any? Because I got one.
Go ahead.
Pat Viles, I Choose the Eagle.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Now, there was a big splash of that at the Hickory Museum of Art this past summer. But I just talked to her, and she's sending out copies because she's got people that go through her that want to know about her art, because I love the way it's titled. I Choose the Eagle, A Lifetime with Friends in Art and Travel. And it really is a kind of a travel log. This is my experience as an artist. She's got people all over the U.S. and over the world, because she shows in Paris, she's shown in Japan, she's shown all over the place, who want a copy of the book to say this is how she derives her art. And we're actually technically sold out of it right now, but we'll be getting more copies in. And it's a great book, and it's also got color and shows her art as well as her words. And so it's kind of one of those that I'm very proud that we did that one this year.
Yeah, do you know how she got the I Choose the Eagle title?
Tell us.
Did she tell you that story? I'm trying to remember it off the top of my head. I'm going to have to paraphrase it. But evidently there was a teacher that was her mentor, and she loved dearly, and she was afraid to go forward, and the teacher gave her the story about the eagle, and she said, you could choose the eagle, or you can choose something that was, very safe. And that's the reason she said, I chose the eagle.
And that's one of our two memoirs. The Dr. Jones book is a memoir, and so is Pat's. So both of them are great reads, a real insight into the personality that we're talking about. And actually, Patty and I were looking it up this morning. There's a new film coming out on Bayard Rustin, who was a civil rights pioneer, who knew Dr. Jones. The Obamas, I think, are producing the film. It's going to be on Netflix. And Dr. Jones knew Bayard Rustin because he mentions him almost a dozen times within the book. We looked it up on the index.
On the index, thank you, Mel. We had an index. It came in handy.
That's what I was going to mention too about before we move from Pat Viles. Pat Viles' project is a perfect example of what goes on inside this program. How many months was it that you worked with Miss Viles to get her material into?
Oh, it was over a year.
Yeah.
It was a good long time. But the interesting thing about it, and when I talked to her, she brought it up, that the only reason that she did that with us is because Leroy Lale had done his bio with us, and she had talked. He knew she was writing a book, and he told her, well, go see the folks at Red Hawk. She says, I have no connection with the folks at Red Hawk. And he says, but I do, and introduced her to us. So it really is that networking thing of you can. That's one way to get your product before us. But we also do, cold. How many cold calls have you gotten from people who want to produce?
Oh, gosh, at least 2 or 3 a month. I'm getting emails and phone calls from people that just randomly hear from us. And then we probably get 2 or 3 a month that friend of a friend or referral.
Yeah.
And then Pat did the hard work
Oh, yeah.
of writing her text. So she had to sit down and write her chapters. She did the extraordinary hard work of going through her pictures, going through her images, choosing what she wanted to use, getting those to us where we could scan them and make them perfect. Then I did the initial layout, and which was okay. Pat said, okay, change this, change. But then that's when Melanie came to work for us, and I said, I would like to see your take on this, because personally, I'm just not quite satisfied with what I did. Then Mel took it and was able to make an entirely different book out of it.
Worked magic.
So, yeah. And also work magic with the client, because she and Pat just hit it off, because they've both got artistic flavors about their personality and their imaginations. So that's one that I was very happy that there's none of my work in that book anymore.
And that demonstrates how it kind of happens.
Maybe a little bit, but
it goes through different incarnations. We look at it, yeah, that works, that doesn't work, and we take it the next step, until we get it, what we feel is right. We and the client feel is right, and that's when we put it out.
because that's what's the most important thing. Is the most important thing is not what the writer writes, but what the reader reads, and we want to make sure that the product will be important for the client as well as the reader. And the book is much more reader friendly than it was. And God, Melanie, how many rewrites and how many revisions did we go through?
Probably
on that?
5 or 6.
Yeah, because
and mostly is she had duplicated stories. She was telling stories, and then she'd go into another chapter on down the line and repeat the story and things like that we had to kind of fix it.
So we took out some redundancies. We moved some things around.
We edited the photographs to make them a little bit brighter because they print darker. When we print the image, it'll print darker, so we got to bring it up a little bit, exaggerate it a little bit.
And one of the things you have to remember, listeners out there, is the print-on-demand system. Color is more expensive than it is if you're using offset. You're printing 10,000 copies of something instead of just 100. So we need to get the biggest bang for our buck when it comes to color. So Melanie is very, very good at guessing what the printer's print shop will put out. So she can then adjust on our end to make things pop better, look better. And that's very, very important too, because you want everything to look as good for the reader as you possibly can.
Yeah, 2 things about that: Paul Masson and New York University. New York University, we were talking about earlier today.
Is Paul Masson like that wine?
That wine, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I'll get to that. But New York University sells, because of color and that sort of thing, some of their books sell at what we would consider exorbitant prices that we don't charge. But the Paul Masson reference is we will sell, just like the wine, we will sell no book before it's time.
Yeah, well, that's true, because we have pulled things off of the schedule and moved things back before, because it just doesn't set well with us. So we will pull it off the schedule, send it back to do something else, go back to the writer. I don't think Miss Barron is done yet when it comes to the actual text of that book. I think we help her make that a better book, a better story. We've got C.L. Willis.
Cecil Willis.
Cecil Willis.
Yeah.
His book is right now with all the readers with a proof. It's called Hillbilly Odyssey. It's kind of an action reaction to Hillbilly Elegy by
J.D. Vance.
J.D. Vance. What else have we got out there?
Well, we've got quite a few to come.
Yeah, and I was going to ask what we've got in the cooker for 24.
It's amazing, and it's not that I want to ignore my hindsight because we've done some amazing things, but what's to come is what's getting me super excited. And Cecil's book is certainly one of them, The Hillbilly Odyssey, because the buzz has been, and this is interesting, he submitted that book to us maybe a year ago, and the readers, our professional readers, liked it, but there was something quite missing, just a little something missing. We sent it back to him and said, please resubmit, and he did the work, hired an editor, and resubmitted it, and the readers remembered it, and they're like, he nailed it. This is, especially for folks around here that live close to Appalachia or they've got Appalachian roots, they really dig what he's saying. It's a memoir about his resilience of being brought up in a small mill town. But it is a reaction towards J.D. Vance's Hillbilly Elegy. So I think it's going to resonate a lot with our readers and folks that live in this area that might have taken a little umbrage at J.D. Vance's book. So we're super excited about that one coming out. And it should be out maybe in the next 4 to 6 weeks, perhaps. Maybe we'll hold it till early January after the holidays, but we're expecting good things from that one.
Yeah, we've got a pretty robust spring coming up with a lot of works that are coming around that are in their final stages of getting ready.
Yeah, Les Brown's book of short stories is one that's coming out after the first of the year. He decided to release it in early 2024 because he wants to be able to hit all of the awards for 2024 and also have something to go into the spring with. And then he was even planning all the way out into the next holiday with his book. I can't remember the name of the thing.
Oh, Iron Bridge Sundays
yes.
and Other Stories.
I'm sorry. Folks out there, my memory is going.
Oh, look, I got my cheat sheet. But you know what's interesting?
Slowly drifting into dementia.
We actually had Les Brown and Joyce Brown review Cecil's book, Hillbilly Odyssey, because we know that they both, Les is from Linville Gorge. He's from the mountains. And they dug Cecil's book so much that Les actually blurbed it.
Yeah, that's right.
And we see a collaboration possibly between Les and Cecil because both of them will have books coming out around the same time about the same kind of subject matter. So that could be some really wonderful opportunities for those two gentlemen to kind of tell their story. And I see Joyce playing banjo in the background. That's me.
And speaking of Les again and the Iron Bridge Sunday, we just added about 16 instances of Les's folk art to the book. He's illustrated some of the stories, and it's basically just number 2 pencil on, a pad, and then we scan those and fix them up, and they're going to be in the book too. So all the little artwork that's in the book belongs to Les as well as the text. So that's going to be exciting to see how that turns out.
And speaking of collaborations, we got a good one coming up between two of our authors, author-photographer, between Scott Owens and Joe Young.
Well, yeah, that's a pretty book.
That's
got some nice photographs in there.
That's coming out real soon, too.
In fact, it should be here November 20th. And you can pre-order it on the website right now. And
just in time for your Christmas shopping.
And it's a $30 book. And if you use that Fall 23 code, you will save 25% and get it for $24.
I thought it was $35.
Well, that's going to be the retail.
Oh, so special.
Yes, we are special here.
Nice.
Because we're trying to get it into people's hands.
There you go.
And it's full color, and it is high quality paper.
Okay.
It's a trade paperback, 8.5 by 11, and it is filled with poetry and photographs showing love for Catawba County and the surrounding area. So if you are from Catawba County and the surrounding area, you will know exactly where these photographs were taken. And our own Melanie Zimmerman laid it out with special instruction and oversight by Clayton Joe Young.
Clayton Joe Young is in my office.
Standing over her shoulder going, nudge that just a little bit.
A famous photographer was
my office. If you can't afford his photographs, get the book, folks, and he'll sign it.
Yeah, so will Scott.
Yeah.
And Scott will have it for sale, as well as our website. Scott will have it for sale down at Tasteful Beans, because he'll have copies of it down there.
Where a number of Red Hawk publications are available.
Yes, if you want to see them in person, there are quite a few of them down there.
There's another book that I'm not sure when it will be released, but Mel, you've been working with Harold Humphrey.
I have been working with
Tell us,
Harold.
because this is new territory for us. The book
It
that
is.
you're working on.
Yeah.
Yeah, Harold has written a songbook, and he's used his original artwork, and this is all original music and all his words and everything, and he's included all the chords, and he's recorded 30 of them for me, so we can put it. Robert suggested we use YouTube instead of trying to house them somewhere. And so you can listen to them and even play along with
awesome.
him. And my husband Dave's a musician, and he's going to go back and re-record them and see what we can do with them as well. So, but they're really easy. I mean, I learned how to play ukulele 3 years ago, and I can play them on the ukulele.
Oh.
There are very few 4-finger chords in this book. So I saw it as a spiral bound book, but Harold wants it to be perfect bound like all of our books are bound. But it's a really nice.
And it's accompanied also by art, is that right?
Yes, it's all his original artwork that he has in there, and it's all going to be indexed, so you can find the artwork's going to be indexed in the back, and it's got a table of contents in it to all the music.
And we've talked about some performance opportunities with this too, right?
Yeah, and we've also talked about bringing him in and us doing a video, like doing a podcast, but we would have it on video.
A video podcast.
And but when he does his book signing it at Tasteful Beans and wherever, we're looking at doing some performances there as well.
What is the musical style of his songs?
It's almost like it's country almost. It's not rock and roll. It's very, very easy music. It's not. But
John Prine?
somewhere along in
somewhere
there.
around-
Yeah.
Americana.
Neil Young kind of?
Yeah.
So
a lot
a
of
little
it's
folky?
A little exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because I was
Okay,
thinking,
great.
like Pete Seeger and that kind of thing, that kind
Okay.
of music.
Americana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you meet Harold, he comes from that generation. And you get that vibe from him anyway, because the first time I saw him, he had on sandals. And it was like, that's unusual for me to meet somebody.
Love
And
me some old hippies.
he's like me.
The thing about Harold also, for those in the Catawba Valley area, you are probably familiar with him for his artwork, and he's well known as being a premier sculpturist. Mm-hmm. So I had no idea that he was also a musician. Naturally, of course, he's an artist, right? So I think for folks who are familiar with his artwork, now learning this other artistic aspect of him and being able to not just see his music and hear his music, but also to see his art. Once again, it's a full loaded book.
Mm-hmm. That's an interesting point you make, because we are seeing artists stretch into new areas. I mean, take Fielli. I mean, I know he and Dennis had done theater before, but for Fielli to do his book and then premiere at HCT and the Green Room when he came during the Art of Compassion shows them kind of stretching into other genres that you might not normally think of. And I guess Harold's a good example of that too.
Yeah. And I think it's something that he's just piddled around with. It's, well, to use an example, we watched an interview with Kiefer Sutherland, and you would never know that he had his own country band. He's a movie star, he's a TV star, and all this other stuff, but what he likes to do is play music, and he has a band, and he goes around and plays these small clubs and stuff. And I think Harold uses it to put another aspect, another look at his poetry, is to put it to music, because you could read them as poems.
Sure. I have read them as poems. Mike Walkup, who, again, local legendary musician in town, he is interested in doing something similar. So I'm looking forward to Harold's book kind of coming to fruition, so that this might be the start of something with other people,
Yeah, because this is something Robert always talked about with the creative economy, in that there's how many $1 billion worth of that a year? I don't know,
it's
6
like
or 7.
$7 billion in North Carolina alone.
And so it stretches, poetry can become lyrics, which can become, photography, drawing, all this other stuff. And I think having a publisher like what we do gives people an opportunity to explore that.
Yeah,
Expand.
And we give them that avenue. Plus, it doesn't cost them anything. If they're not actually losing anything by investing their time and energy into this project, they're going to gain a whole lot, and we gain a lot from it too, because some of their poems are inspirational. They make us feel good about ourselves, and for us to be able to share that and to share that with them, and plus we gain a new relationship. Like with Pat and Harold and Howie Good in New York with Frowny Faces. Terry, she's now a new friend, so to speak, and it's just my viewpoint of it is when I meet an author, I want to do the best thing that I can do for them because I care about what happens to them, and we all care about what happens to them and what their product looks like and everything, and then it just becomes someone that's in our lives now, and
we've created family.
Yeah,
we really have.
And it works with family, too, because Terry Barr was an early author for us, and now his wife has a beautiful book.
Yeah, Nellie Barr, his wife, has written a children's book called My Body, My Buddy. Mm-hmm. And it's about her dog, Max, and how he listens to his buddy, his body. And we were able to put her with a local artist, what I call a scratch artist nowadays, because Robert Russell begins his work with a pencil on a piece of Bristol board, and it's almost been a year ago that we started this, and now we're in the second proof. It's a beautiful book. Mm-hmm. Rob's artwork is hilarious. It's caricaturesque, and what Nellie has done is basically the narrative is by Max. And my granddaughter, when she read it, she says, "I just love how that reads like how a dog would talk."
Yeah, it does.
Because we've always wondered that.
Yeah, she says, "I just know that's exactly how a dog would talk. That dog would talk. My mommy and my daddy remind me that I don't only need fuel from food, but I need fuel from love, because the heart needs fuel just as much as the body." And my granddaughter's going like, "That's so sweet." So this is going to be a really good book. And
it's
again,
educational.
Yeah.
And yet it's from the perspective of a dog, but it can teach you. By the way, it taught me. I should be more concerned about food as fuel, not like good times.
And one of our most successful writers, Jonathan Howard, he's working on a children's book of the same ilk about teaching children about the brain. And we've paired him with a local artist, the same fella, Nick Forte, who worked with Grayson on his comic. We paired him with Nick Forte, and now Nick's working with him to illustrate that book.
And that one's going to be called Brains for Babies. And initially, Robert and I were like, "Are you kidding me?" But then when Jonathan, he gave us the concept, he sold us. They're actually going to be using real brain scans that Nick is going to create illustrations around. So again, very educational, and I know the parent that will buy this for their toddler.
But at the same time, it's hilarious because there's one page in the markups that Nick did that's got this big giant brain with these big buggly eyes inside of a control room with these tentacles, because Howard had written about how the brain controls all of this system,
the functions,
and inside this thing is like this nightmare of a tentacled brain
it's in my head.
pressing these buttons, and I'm going like, yeah, that's exactly what my brain looks like. All these tentacles and crap going on in there. So.
Mine's taking shots and smoking cigarettes.
Just like this podcast, you never know where this stuff will go.
Brains for people in their 60s. That book comes next, Jonathan.
Yeah, well, that goes back to the old hippies thing. So we're tying all this stuff together.
Yeah, give me one of those gummies over there.
But
so we got the Nellie Barr book. We got Jonathan Howard working on his.
And let's not forget the Grand Poobah and Big Kahuna. Richard, you got a lot coming up, so why don't you give us a little breakdown
I
on this?
I want to give a plug to a new author who has collaborated on a book with me by the name of Claudia Ward.
Ooh.
She
She sounds
is that?
interesting.
I find her so.
I thought you did.
Yeah.
Is that woman we threw out of here one day because she was hanging around?
Is she the one that redlines all your books?
Yes. Well,
She redlines books that are
In the
professionally
library.
published.
I'd have 3 dozen out right now if she hadn't redlined. She actually was very good to help me on the furniture book, go through it and say this don't make any sense. You gotta make this make sense. And so after that, I began writing on the second. We've got the Red Hawk Publications has the first book on the occupants of Harper House. The second is the Thorntons, and I didn't think much about them until I got into it. And I was going to write it from the perspective of the man, me being a man, and there was the real reason that he is as famous and in Hickory as he is because of his wife. And so what she did was help me pull out Elizabeth, because Elizabeth, his wife, was a hidden figure, but she really is the money behind the whole thing. And so Claudia was very good in saying all the time when I'm writing about Marcellus, because in typical patriarchal fashion, we've named it Tell Us Marcellus, but Elizabeth, because he's the loudmouth, but Elizabeth is there, and she helped bring her out into more of the open as much as we can, because there's no pictures of her. Marcellus, there's a bunch of them. So what this book is kind of a collaborative effort to talk about a husband and wife team by a husband and wife team. So that will be coming out next year. We're doing some partnership stuff with the Historical Association of Catawba County, and that's not the only one. There's a guy who gave us, I'll show you how this all ties together. There's a guy who gave us a book of 2 sisters who wrote a memoir from the early 20th century in Hickory, the Abernathy sisters, and we found out that there was a play written in the 1980s that Lenore Ryan Playmakers did, adapted by Dr. Marion Love, and we're looking at a collaborative effort on that too. And in that book, they write about what a character Colonel Thornton was, one of the local town guys. So there's all these ties that we have with the Historical Association of Catawba County, including a project that will show up in the Daily Record of a story about when the Soapbox Derby was here. And so we're working on some visual, maybe documentary kind of things, as well as something with that. But to go back to the Thornton story, we're also doing that as an audiobook, so that'll be coming out next year. So we're having, it's just so much fun to stumble on these stories and go, wow, we got to tell that story. And that's what leads to the kind of product that we get.
And we're not even mentioning, I know Tanja Smith, who has published with us in the past, she's got another book coming out.
Oh, yeah.
Her Dog's in New York City. We've got Stuart Connolly. He was the co-author of the Dr. Jones memoir.
Jones, yeah.
And he's got a memoir that just kind of kicked all of us in the butt. So we're looking forward to Offered in Secret.
Yeah, that one will blow you away. Yeah.
Yeah. So, again, there's just a lot more up on deck, and we're really excited.
We are. Yeah.
The Thornton stuff is very interesting because we were just talking earlier today about the difference between something like the Jones book and We Want Them Infected by Jonathan Howard, these things that sell thousands and thousands of copies, and then we have things that we do because we're interested in the academics of it. And, with the Thornton book, we're going to we've already got the publication in our library of the original Lady in New Orleans, which you can get that on our website or on Amazon right now. Then we're going to have Mel has worked slavishly to bring us My Buddy and I.
And it's a sweet book. It is a nice little book.
And we're going to have that available as a single title.
Both written at Harper House.
Yeah. Then we're going to have Lady in New Orleans and My Buddy and I as in a book together, along with Professor Eller's. I don't know, what are you planning on writing for it?
Well, I got to thinking about that the other day because, I've put there's a whole chapter for each book in Tell Us Marcellus. But you and I had talked about doing a critical edition that looks at it from my side a historical context and your side from a literary one.
Yeah, and any other Academy people out there who might want to get involved in this, let us know. If you're an English teacher and would like to read the books and write an essay, please so. Same thing with history teachers, anybody who might be interested in it, we'll have that available. And we've also got in we have the original manuscript
yes.
of The Lady of New Orleans in Marcellus Thornton's hand.
Yeah.
Fountain pen hand.
Long hand.
And we're going to include pictures of that. We're going to include instances of that and talk about that as well. So, this is a dude that lived here in Hickory, in Harper House, at the turn of the 20th century, who wrote these two books right here. They're about the area. They take place in the area. They kind of reflect what life was like around here back then. So if you want to know what this area was like back then, there's no better way to do it than immerse yourself through this man's fiction. And these things are iconic as something to study through the Academy. I mean, things that wind up in libraries as reference books, just like Well Crafted, which, by the way, your wife, Claudia, she goes after my marketing heart because she was screaming at you to break that book into 2 volumes instead of selling the big doorstop we're selling.
Yeah.
And I was
that
thinking,
was my own ego on that one.
That might have been a better thing, because I could have then gotten maybe $20 out of each one and got 40 instead of 35.
Well,
and worth every bit of it.
Bringing up the
Twice the
Thornton,
price.
the Thornton book, and you doing the collaboration thing with the history and the literature, the Thomas Dana Jr. Fund could be an option for you to have that sticker on the front of that book. And, the Thomas Dana Jr. Fund gives scholarships to our students, and then also allows us to be able to select authors and give them this designation that they're part of the series, of that book series.
And help provide funding.
And you can also donate to the Thomas Dana Jr. Scholarship by getting in touch with Catawba Valley Community College's foundation.
Yes.
You can contact Jennifer Jones at the foundation, and she can...
Or hit us up.
Or you can contact us.
As a matter of fact, in the description of this podcast, I'll have some information on how to contribute to the foundation.
Yay.
So that will help folks there. And of course, if they want to give an extra nickel to us, we're not going to complain.
Well,
It'll help fund future books like the Axelrod book. Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've been yakking for about an hour. Has anybody got anything else they want to cover?
All mine's clear.
Yours clear?
I'm just excited about 2024, guys.
I know we forgot something.
Gonna be our
we
best year.
always do forget something.
But hey, we'll do a podcast on it.
But yeah, if we forgot you out there, please let us know, and we'll do a podcast. We're going to try to put together something with Joe and Scott
Joe and
Owens
Scott,
for round
hopefully
here.
we'll get that before the end of the year. That'd be really nice, guys.
Yeah, and we'll be able to do that. But otherwise, thank you so much out there for listening. And if you have any commentary, feedback, or anything like that, where you get your podcast, you can contact us. Make sure what is it, Patty, you say about clicking?
Oh, please make sure you follow, like, share, and subscribe.
There you go. I knew it was something. So out there in podcast land, for Patty Thompson, Melanie Zimmerman, and Richard Eller, this is Robert Knipe saying, RedPubPod.
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 Thank you so much for listening. Take it easy.
RedPubPod.
This is
RedPubPod.
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 a podcast
RedPubPod.
from Red Hog Publications.
RedPubPod.